Silhouetted against the window, the man was rangy, with narrow shoulders and a head that seemed too large for his body. Allowing his companions to settle, he stepped forward to the table. The room crackled with tension, barely relieved by the birdsong that sweetened the humid air. The rangy man adjusted the fit of his coat and placed his tall hat on the polished table. When the birdsong ceased, the only sound in the room was the remorseless ticking of a long case clock. The rangy man cleared his throat before he began to speak. "We are gathered here to discuss the possibility that our enemy could find a new ally." The rangy man looked around the gathering, analysing the resourcefulness of each person in turn. Everybody met his eyes in full approval, with most nodding to reinforce their determination. One man produced a Bible, which he placed in front of him. Gleaming through the window, a beam of sunlight settled on the gold cross on the cover of the book. The rangy man continued. "We all know that the struggle has already cost the lives of tens of thousands of men, as well as millions of our dollars. We are engaged in a war which is tearing the Union apart, and we cannot afford to oppose more than one foe at a time. We also know that there has been talk of Great Britain joining the struggle on the opposing side." He halted, cracking the knuckles of his great hands together as the men shifted uncomfortably in their chairs. A cloud blotted the sun, removing the light from the cross. The rangy man took a deep breath. "If the forces of Great Britain join those of the South, we will be facing a possible invasion from Canada, as well as the inevitable sea blockade and raids along the coast." He permitted himself a small smile. "We all know why this building is called the White House." There was a murmur of agreement from the room. Everybody present was aware of the War of 1812, when a British force had burned Washington. The Capitol building had to be painted white to mask the scars. One man fidgeted in his seat as if he had been personally responsible for the decades-old disaster. The rangy man spoke again. "It is therefore imperative that we keep Great Britain out of the war. To that end, we will enhance the interests of all who support our noble cause and work against all those who oppose us." One of the men at the table lit a cigar, puffing aromatic smoke around the room. Others followed his example. When a red-haired man offered the speaker a cheroot, he shook his shaggy head. "I propose that we use whatever methods we deem necessary to ensure Britannia pokes neither her trident nor her long nose into our domestic affairs. Whatever methods." Again he met the eyes of the assembled company. Not a single man flinched. The birds sang again, loudly. One of the men sought permission from the speaker, then stepped to the open window and pulled it shut. He looked outside, noting the blue uniformed guards that paraded in the hot sun and the flag that hung limply from its pole. "Sir, when can we start?" "Immediately," the rangy man spoke softly. "I will send each of you to a British city where agents of the Confederacy may seek to work against us." Producing a sheaf of folded and sealed documents from within his coat, the rangy man handed one to each man in the room. "You will all go to the destination written on the front of your document and do your duty for the Union. Inside, you will find 2 lists of names and addresses. The first gives details of those who may sympathize with us. The second gives details of those who may work against us. For instance, Mr. F., you will work in Manchester, which is experiencing a great deal of distress because of the cotton famine. Mr. H., you already know Dundee, with its connections to both North and South. Each of you gentlemen has all been assigned to equally important destinations. That is all, gentlemen. Any methods. Remember, the future of this great nation is at stake." One by one, the men left the room, all pausing to shake the hand of the speaker before stepping out of the building and into their waiting carriages. Only when they were gone did the speaker slump into a chair. He placed his head in his hands. "And may God grant you strength and wisdom," he said, "for this country is dissolving in tears and blood."